Tate Jean Moeketsi. How are you, sir?
Hey, Tom.
I'm fine. Yeah.
So, Tate Jean Moeketsi, can you please briefly tell us about yourself? Who is Jean Moeketsi?
No, Jean Moeketsi is a guy, a young man, born and bred in a small town of Ventersburg.
Right.
Yes, I was born there and I was raised up in Ventersburg. Then I started my schooling, doing primary and everything. Secondary, I came this side where I was at Unitas Secondary. Then from there, I did my tertiary education in Bloom, of course, where I did my HR studies, and then I pursued further with UNISA. And then in the hindsight, that's a brief background in terms of me from an educational perspective, but I'm one person who's actually I can say I'm lovable because now I'm admired by so many people, and I love people that I actually associate myself with. I'm one person who will always try to make sure that we do have something to laugh about, and yeah, that's all about me. I'm a friendly person, I'm a loving and caring person, a person who believes in others, a person who actually always see the best in others, even when they could not see the positive sides from themselves. I always try to make sure that we strive through adversity. I always try to make sure that people don't see challenges, but they see opportunities in everything that they do. And that's my story. That's about me. I'm an open book. I'm one person who believes in open door policy and honesty as the best policy, making sure that you whatever that you promise, whatever that you say you are going to do, you always make sure that you do it according to whatever the agreement that you have with the people that you are associating yourselves with.
So you told us that you grew up in Ventersburg. How was life there in Ventersburg?
No, man. Life was so interesting. I must say it was actually one of the best lives that I've lived when I was actually growing up there, coming back from actually a family raised by a grandmother. All of us, we used to stay in one house. All my cousins, we were actually raised from my grandmother's house, and then we used to play like any other kids. We used to have fun. We used to go and do, all of sorts of things that normally young people are doing when they grow up. I used to play soccer. I loved soccer, but now I used to play it only in the dusty streets. Most people will tell you that they never saw this head in any stadium. From the dusty streets, we used to play from during the course of the day up till late. Normally when the schools closes during the school holidays, we'll go play soccer, and when we come late we always actually dirty. But it was one experience that I will forever cherish and take with me in my life.
So tell us a bit about the challenges that you faced growing up, and how did they shape you into the person that you are today?
No, the challenges that you face, Tom, the first one that I would want to talk about, it's about being understood. People always no, that it's a challenge. Because now you'll see where we're going with this one. Because normally, if people don't understand your story, they don't get your story right, you'll find out that they can actually misinterpret it otherwise, and you might find out that if you don't, your message whatever thing that you want to get across to the other people, or whether it's from your peers, or whether it's from the schools, school teachers, or whatever. If people don't understand your own perspective according to the context within which you, as the person who's actually trying to share that story with, it will always be a challenge, because now sometimes you find that people will actually have some differing views with you. People will try to actually drag you down for not understanding you or your perspective per se. And in terms of that, it's a challenge from a communication perspective. But another one is a challenge of trying to, overcome the challenges of poverty. As I said, I'm coming from a very, very humble and inspiring background, because now for you to get anything that you want, you always have to make sure that you do not only rely on your parents. We used to rely on our own grandmother. Our mothers were working outside town. My father was working in the mines long time there, and all the things that one could have wanted to have. It was not easy like other people that had their parents, lived with their parents. You always have to make sure that you are actually you had to hustle, but in a nicer way, from a very, very young age. But that taught me actually some resilience. It gave me strength, it gave me tenacity, it gave me courage, because now seeing other people blossom and getting the things that we could have wanted with the parents, and us having the smallest that whatever could get from our grandmother, that helped, because now we could see that it was not the circumstances that determined whether we get what we have to get, or whether we bring the bread on the table or whatever. That's about it.
So you went to Bloom, you studied HR.
Correct.
Then you came back, I suppose. Then how did your career journey begin?
Man, it started, it was around 2002. 2003. When I came back, remember now, it was a struggle, because now you are coming back, you've got all this excitement that you are going to get a job. The job is ready for you there, you apply on newspapers, but that's when the reality hits you, because now it is not as easy as you think. Now you have to update your CV, run with brown envelopes, go into libraries, trying to research about the available jobs. So I went through the very same journey, and I actually went through the very same difficult fate, like most people, that you apply, there's no response. You apply, you think that people will be getting back to you, they don't. Especially when you have applied, you don't want even to lose your phone near you, because now immediately when you see a missed call at that time, you are very worried to say what could have that could have been actually a call from the potential employers. So I managed to actually approach the South African Police Service station in Ventersburg, and then I saw that if I could not pursue a voluntary internship, then I was not going to make it, because having to sit around, loiter around in the streets, trying to actually make ends meet, hoping that you will get something. And of course, you can see, if you have been in Ventersburg, you can see that there's nothing that is happening there other than the N1 and so forth. As much as I'm not saying it in a derogatory way, we are coming from such a small town where that there are not so many opportunities there for employment, of course. Yes, you can try working in the garages, you can try working in the restaurant, but it can only accommodate actually a specific number, which is very small. And then the rest of others will have to check as to how we go. Others are working in the mines, others are working in the agricultural farms, others in the domestic spaces, security, and so forth. But I must say, with that experience of going to the SAPS Fantastic HR department, it turned my life around. Despite the challenges, of course, because now I used to work there. Remember, I was placed in a HR personnel administration department, whereby I was actually handling various aspects of administration internally. That's when I learned HR admin. I didn't even know. I was actually talking about the contracts of employment, job descriptions, performance enhancement processes. But it was for the first time that I had a first-hand experience of being shown this is the way these forms looks alike, and the leave forms, the leave processes, having to attend meeting, having to come in a very actually it's a unique environment working in the SAPS, because now even discipline there, the type of discipline and the level of discipline that you get or you are exposed to there, it's at another level that I would encourage. Actually, I would have liked everyone or most of the people that would want to actually venture into any workplace to go through similar companies or organizations that embrace discipline before anything else. So that helped me a lot, because in terms of organizing myself, in terms of how I presented myself, in terms of how I engage with people, knowing that I need to respect people, I need to make sure that I'm always actually on top of my work, I'm always informed, I'm always actually trying to exceed the expectation of my own expectation and standards and expectations of those ones that I was helping in the community. And that helped me, because now, remember, the most painful part, volunteering, Tom, you will work and give your best, not expecting anything. But come month end, the reality sinks. It will hit you, because now it's very painful that you are giving it your all, and you at the end you are not getting anything. People are all smiling in the office, they can't wait, people are enjoying themselves, and you know that. And I must say that experience, it was such a painful one. I can still recall it as if it was yesterday. But I had a different, actually a very, very, very special mother. My mother, man, and my father, I give credit to all of them, because now they had their own way of taking that stress. It simply means that they saw something in me, they could see through me. Normally around month end, my mother will deposit money into my account. You see, not substantial amounts, but something now just to get me through to buy, actually not to buy some few things that I could live with, you know, because now at that time, you didn't have to survive without airtime. Newspaper, I was actually one of the people that were so into reading newspaper, the city presses of the likes, the Sunday Times and so forth, just to stay informed business-wise and what is happening around. So that actually support, it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot because through that transition or through those hardships, I could not actually be broken down by smallest things that I could have anticipated and knew that when I was actually entering into a voluntary internship, that was the reality, you see. But in the end, the experience that you earn there, it's irreplaceable. That experience is the experience that shaped me up till today. If it wasn't because of that experience that I went through then, I wouldn't have been where I am today. You see.
So you've been in human resources for quite a while. So what do you like the most about working in human resources?
Hey man, if I have to talk about human resources, I can take the whole day because
You can.
no, HR it's everything that I live for. HR it's my life, it's my passion, it's what keeps me awake. I don't know where I would have been without this profession, because now I believe that it's a calling. I had one predecessor that actually was mentoring me in the profession when I started, and this person taught me something that is so profound, that if you are not so keen, you do not love yourself, you don't respect yourself, you can't actually sympathize with your own, you can't actually put yourself in the position of others, then this profession is not for you. If you can't admit that you are not money, you are not going to be liked by everyone. If you are going to put your head on the block as a sacrificial lamb for others' mistakes, or so that others could prosper, so that others can climb on your shoulders for them to succeed, so that people can be so much better, then HR is not for you. What I like more about this profession is that it humbles you. That's why I say it's a calling. It humbles you, because now you need to be so actually, I don't know, you need to put yourself in the position of others. Put the needs of others before your own. Love other people as you love yourself. Make decisions that are good not only for other people but for the business. Put others' interest and the business interest over anything else. What is right for any other person should be actually right for the rest. What is wrong for one person should be wrong for the rest. You see, HR is more about ensuring that we are leading the pack when it comes to fairness. You see, we are actually the human judges in an employment space. We are, our role and our responsibility and accountability in HR is similar to the role of judges. Why? Because now you need to believe in what is right, that is righteousness. You need to believe in what is just, what is fair, you know. And this justice, I always interpret it from actually a biblical perspective, to say you are there to make sure that whatever judgment that you lay, it should be the very same judgment that God above is not going to use it against you. So HR tells you, if you know that, or you see that something is wrong, firstly, you are not going to support it. And firstly, you are going to try to do something to rectify it. And you are going to make people aware that whatever that they are doing, it is very wrong. You see, regardless whether it's through the actions, through the decisions, through the direction that the company is taking, and everything else in the business, you see. So that's why I like this HR. It is actually a human embodiment of what the company stands for. HR, you know, some other people, they talk about HR as if it's a department. We as HR, we are actually representing a human perspective of what the company aspires for. What they say we believe in terms of how people should behave, how we hire people, how we interact with people, how we treat people, what type of experience should we give people, how do we lead our own people, how do we empower, how do we try to develop our own so that they can grow with their business. You see, how do we care for each other? Not only caring for each other as colleagues, but caring for the business for its own sustainability. How do we make sure that we care for the future of others by thinking and applying our minds in line with the future? You see, how do we try to avoid the very same mistake that we have committed in the past as a business? You see, so HR goes a long way. It's a strategic partner in terms of the business, but again, you are actually a thinking tank in terms of the people, strategies, direction that the company should take from time to time.
So, in your own opinion, what do you see as a major trend that will change the human resources field in the next 5 years?
Firstly, HR traditionally, we started, or we were one department or profession that was least recognized in organization. But today I must say I'm very proud that HR is not only a partner in business. We are actually driving the direction of the business. We are leading the business. We are actually setting the tone of where the business should go. And now, with recent developments, we have seen that we have moved from being labor-intensive administrative department by migrating or transitioning into automated space, whereby all the HR transactions that they are automated, processes that are automated, they are digitized. You don't have to spend so much time dealing with paperwork and so forth, organizing trainings and so forth. Those things there can be internalized through digital systems. HR now, you don't have to go and do facilitations and training, having to sit one-on-one. You can do HR work anywhere, virtually, remotely, and so forth. Now, in terms of having people that are engaging with you or doing, let's say, sales work, telesales or whatever, marketing, customer service, HR has evolved in such a way that we can develop actually the digital humans that you can program to say, in terms of the competencies that you are looking for specific positions, how are we going to align and program this specific digital human to actually do and exceed the expectations of a human being. You see, in terms of resourcefulness, in terms of the service that you are offering, in terms of the speed, again, because now the time efficiency and the cost efficiency, because now if you use those specific robots that we normally call the digital humans, like the chatbots, making a typical example of a chatbot that can actually take care of customer service queries, that can also sell the products to the customers, that can also do training and a presentation for others without you being there. Actually a chatbot that can also empower people in terms of company processes, doing the explaining and giving an advisory role in terms of disciplinary procedures, company processes, how to hire, doing even the interviews. We are doing these things. We never thought of those things, but now this is the new era. But more so, I believe that I foresee a space whereby HR is going to, in terms of the traditional HR work, despite the digital robots, we are going to compete and try to outcompete each other in terms of the digital innovations that will be creating and developing for specific businesses. Like now with SEBENZA Experience, SEBENZA Engineering, having me and through the company that I founded, HR Limited Solutions. Now it's easier to come to SEBENZA Engineering and actually internalize and integrate all their HR systems into one platform. You see, that can take care of their recruitment processes, in terms of the recruitment risks, in terms of the polygraphies that are there, in terms of the background checks, in terms of the training, in terms of applications tracking, in terms of performance management, in terms of employee engagement, in terms of how you pay people. It goes along, the list is endless.
The list is endless.
Yes.
So let's talk about mentorship. Who is your mentor in this profession?
My mentor, actually, he's deceased. Yeah, he is deceased. I do have the late Lifta Modise, and then I had one other mentor who I still regard so highly, Mr. Sidney Zimba. He used to be the HR director in the corporate space where I used to work before. And then, yeah, those are the people that I look up to that actually have contributed in terms of shaping me to be the person that I am today. But more so, there is another mentor that I would want to include, because my brother, I've got my own grandfather, and my mother as well. As much as my father is deceased, those people, they are my mentors, because I always try to learn new things daily, taking new advices from my mother on an ongoing basis, because even now, to my mom, I'm still like a 5-year kid to her. Yeah, and she's one person whom you can actually learn a lot from in terms of humility, in terms of trying not to be too harsh to yourself, in terms of believing yourself, trying to make sure that you are the best that you can be. And I've got my other brother that I've mentioned, Mr. Moeketsi. He always tried to make sure that we believe in ourselves, we understand as to who we are, what we stand for, because now if you don't have anything that you stand for in life, you'll fall for anything. My grandfather, he's actually a role model and an exemplary. Why? Because now he has shown us that leadership, you don't have to go to school for leadership. He is the one who's actually the family leader, and actually he is making us to see that anything is possible. You can be a leader in whichever position that you are. You can actually, the only thing that you need to know in terms of leadership is being true to yourself. Be trustworthy to yourself. Try to follow which you have to follow, and make sure that you follow it through. And make sure that you are also self-disciplined. Be the exemplary to others, so that because now you know that other people are looking up to you for their own motivation. People are looking up to you for the mistakes that you will commit. People are looking up to you for the things that could inspire them to be something else. So those are the things that I could learn, and I always try to make sure that when I look up to mentors and role models, I do not go as far away as other than looking from within my own family, of course. Yeah. Yes.
So how do you stay up to date on new trends and advancements in the HR field?
Then I always believe in self-development.
Yeah.
Most of the skills that I've learned, others, they were not through formal education, of course.
Yes.
Self-taught. You've got the YouTube, you've got Google, and then in terms of the HR profession, you've got other platforms like Case Law, you've got Safely. You read about the current cases that are actually being the landmarks in the labor law space, and then you also try to make sure that you read books. Yeah, I always take time to read. I'm not a person who likes TV. If you go to my house, if I'm watching TV, it's only YouTube tutorials. I'm also always watching tutorials. I'm also on YouTube checking the videos on how to do things, where the profession is as we speak and where it's going. I'm always actually listening to motivational speeches. I believe in mental diet, and then intellectual diet. I always like to listen and look at the visuals of other academics in the HR space, in leadership, and learn from them. Because now it's not only through a classroom where you can learn something, it's not through day-to-day experiences where you can learn, but through reading, through making sure that you are up to date and you are aligned with that which is happening in the technological space. Then you will always be on top. Social media, I'm always there. I always make sure that I learn from that which I see, but I'm one person who believes in not being or trying to learn just like a parrot. Other people, they just take things transactionally as they come. I always try to see a thing from a different view, to say how about this, because now based on things that are happening, other information that you can get from these spaces can be fake. So always try to make sure that whatever that you get, you evaluate and you apply your mind and you make your own decision out of it.
So in this era of fourth industrial revolution, what are the challenges that you foresee in this field? Maybe in the future, let's say next 5 years?
The thing is, Tom, I'm not sure whether I can say we are in the fourth, the third, or the fifth industrial revolution. Why? Because if you check our dynamics as a country, as a continent, in terms of we are a third world country, and with differing or various economics that are driving our different maybe let's say provinces. If you check Cape Town, if you check Joburg, and then you take Free State, you'll see that we differ in terms of our economic participation, exposure, technology-wise, and so forth. So, and also take into account the rural spaces. Joburg, thumbs up. Pretoria, thumbs up. Cape Town, thumbs up. KZN, even let's say Northwest, the Rustenburg area, it's booming and so forth. So those dynamics in terms of the economies that are differing, you will see that it makes it quite difficult for us to say whether we are in the fourth, fifth, or third industrial revolution, or we are towards the fourth or the fifth. You see. So in terms of technology, here in the Free State, still we are in the second or the third industrial revolution. But if you compare Joburg and others, they might be leading the pack if you check the things that they are doing there. As much as when you talk about industrial revolution, you don't have to talk about the robotics only. Maybe the digitization of the processes now as you see, if you go to other retail shops, you see that you no longer have cashiers who are actually doing cashiering work. You've got actually machines that are actually doing the very same work. In terms of other provinces, they are way ahead. In terms of construction industry, I've seen that you do have now machines and the robots that are actually doing the actual building, the machines that are actually doing the tarring of the road and so forth. In terms of the cutting of the trees and so forth, so many processes have been automated in that specific way. But the dynamics of where we come from and where we are as economies, they normally differ. I still believe in actually here we should be leading the pack in terms of agricultural innovation and digitization innovations, in terms of how we do our agriculture. How do we do it scientifically? Can we preempt where we want to elevate our agricultural economy as it is? But I still believe that there's an opportunity there that is lying. It's just want someone who can just go into that space and run with it. In our space here, yes, of course, SEBENZA we are one maybe company that is actually growing at a smaller scale. But in terms of check the internal systems that are automated, you will see that as compared to our counterparts, we are way ahead, because now we are not actually a manually inclined business whereby we push paperwork. Everything, it has to be about how we actually make sure that we are virtual, we are investing in automation, and making sure that we cut the time that we normally invest, or that the time that would normally take you as a person doing things manually, through technological innovations. Yes.
So, what would you like to say to anyone who would like to pursue the same path as you?
I will encourage them anyway, but I will say, firstly, it must come from the heart. HR, you find out that most of the people that have been in HR, hence we've got so many challenges that we face in the profession, whereby people who failed courses, people who could not be admitted in any other courses, people who were clueless about any other courses that they have to pursue, they found themselves in HR. The results or the consequence of that is that those people now, they are working, they are in the corporate spaces, and they are actually occupying specific positions of responsibility in HR, representing what the profession stands for. But those people, they didn't go there because of the love or the passion, or they were competent in HR. It was just that HR was just any other course. So you will not actually blame the end result in terms of what we see, in terms of the challenges throughout our organization, when you check in terms of corporate governance, in terms of making sure that there is sustainability, decision making, and leadership. Because HR, it should always be at the forefront of driving those that which I've mentioned, including the culture, of course. But now, with people, any Tom, Dick, and Harry finding themselves in HR, it becomes a problem. Why? Because now, those people, they don't bring any passion with them when they come. They are just there. HR, it's a career for them rather than a calling. You see. So this profession, just like being a priest, it's a calling. You are called to be in HR, to do the right things. Actually, a person, you can see an HR person without having to try to actually be too smart or whatever. You could see in terms of how they interact with themselves, how they interact with others, the love they have for their job, the love they have in terms of service delivery. They are actually the servants and activists of the people practice in the workplace.
So, Mr. G is a youth man. What does youth man mean to you, and what would you like to say to the youth in Zimbabwe?
Youth Month, it's 1 month that I actually hold dearly to my heart. Why, Tom? It's because it always reminds us of the possibilities that young people or youthfulness can achieve. You see, even if you go to Bible or anywhere, you will see that most of the best things that have ever happened, most of the life-changing experiences, they were actually encountered through or driven in the forefront by the youth. Youth always give us courage to say they can actually change the narrative. Youth have all this excitement, energy, and drive to actually deliver us to where we need to go as a nation. Youth Month, actually, it reminds me of saying, you know what, regardless of any challenge that we face, whether it was apartheid, whether it was colonization, whether it was slavery, whether it was maybe Bantu education or whatever, whether it was equal opportunities that people fought for in the past, whether it was for freedom, but everything is possible if you believe in it. If you can have a youthful mind, a youthful mindset, a youthful courage, and a youthful tenacity, we can always achieve. And that's why I believe that as much as our government or most of other stakeholders, they say they believe in youth, but their actions, I believe that they actually vary in terms of what they do and what they say. You see, because I believe that youth should be given space. Youth should be leading corporate spaces. Youth should be leading us in government. Youth should be leading us in society. Because now, at a very young age, that's when you are actually even your active learning process, it's at its highest peak, you see. And that's people that are young, they can commit mistakes and they still have the age in front of them that can still help them to rectify those specific mistakes. Other than if you make mistakes and your time is child time, you make mistakes tomorrow, you are no more. You see, we make business decisions today we didn't even foresee what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years down the line. But now with youthfulness, having young people, those people, if they make those specific mistakes, they will still be there to rectify those mistakes in the long run. You see.
So looking back at your life, if you had a chance to do it all over again, what would you do different?
What would I do differently? I think I wouldn't, the only thing that I wouldn't do the same as I would want to do or that I've done, it's I would not have gone through years and years working for someone. I would have actually pursued entrepreneurship maybe when I was in my actually teens, because now I had that specific courage in me. I'm an entrepreneur, actually an entrepreneur at heart. I believe in entrepreneurship. So with that which I'm doing now in business, that I do for SEBENZA and many other clients that we normally actually offer our HR professional advisory and services to, I believe that I was too late to start. Had I started much earlier, I would have been very far. So I would encourage even people to say there's nothing wrong, there's nothing bad of trying to be going to the employment space. Because now remember, you cannot be an expert without you having acquired the experience. You see, you still have to go there and earn your stripes, go through the experiences through organization, working for companies. But once you've earned relative experience, you need to actually consider your exit, to go there and do something for your own, that you can be able to create something much better for not only yourself, your generation, but including the businesses. Now you are reinvesting the skills and expertise into the smaller businesses, medium businesses and large businesses for the growth and prosperity of our own country, of course.
So Mr. Jimmy Moeketsi, when it's all said and done, what would you like people to remember you for?
Hey, you ask me difficult questions, Tom, today. I want to be remembered as a simple, one of the simplest guys that you could ever imagine. One person who believed in himself, believed in others that they can do more. One person who is passionate about what they do. One person who believes that we can achieve anything in life if we put our mind to it. One person who will be actually remembered that there's always one person who has to start something and show people and the rest of other people who thought that it will never happen, that it can be done. You see, so I would actually want to be remembered as an admiring young black person, an admiring father, a proud father, whom, because remember, I'm always, when it comes to my family and everything that I do is for my kids and their next generation and everyone who's going to come after them. And then I always want to show that if you put your mind on something else, make sure that you have made your mind on what you put your mind to. You see, always make up your mind to say, is it something that I believe in? Is it something that I will see through to the end, you see. And is it something that if I leave it at a certain stage, it's going to be something that is going to outlive me, a legacy that is not going to outlive me, but that is always going to take care of those ones that are left behind. Yeah, then I think I would have done my job. But in essence, I would want to be remembered as one simple person who lived the simplest life and who showed us that you don't have to be glamorous. You don't have to be a special person coming from above, from a different background or a special background for you to make it in life. Anything is possible, you see.
So before we close this off, man, do you have any last words, anything you would like to see, Ed?
Just to add through this interview, Tom, I would want to call upon most of us as Africans, as South Africans, to work together. Try to work together, try to collaborate, try to connect, try to network, try to establish relationships that are going to make us prosper. Try to create those specific relationships that are going to open doors that are closed for us. Try to make sure that you open doors that were closed for you so that others can still actually come and not go through the very same struggle that you went through to open those specific doors. Try to support each other. Try to make sure that we are in it together. Whether you are white, whether you are black, whether you are colored, we don't have to see color over anything else. If we put our mind to it and to say, if we collaborate and try to get, because now each and everyone has got something to offer on the table. And most of the time you find out that the people that could have been celebrated, most of their dreams, they died not because they were useless or they failed. They died because now they couldn't get a helping hand that could have elevated them to do something that is much greater. You see, so many people have been far in careers, in corporate world, and in entrepreneurship. We've got so many young people that are sitting and wettering in the streets who could have been very far had someone listened to what they had to say. You see, and let's try to see people differently. Let's try to not to judge people based on their background. Let's not use the youth background against them. Let's not try to blame youth for crime and drugs addicts and all these other things that are happening. Let's try to check to say what went wrong as a society, as South Africa, because the signs are always there to say if all goes wrong at the highest level of leadership, then you cannot expect anything to happen at the lowest level. And that we're talking about governance, we're talking about opportunities that we expose to our kids or the young ones especially, to say, do you give them the necessary support in terms of that which they need for them to acquire employment, for them to be put closer to in the mainstream of the economy, especially the job economy? Are we putting the entrepreneurship in the mainstream of the entrepreneurial opportunities that are out there? What type of support? We've got government buildings that are sitting there. Why can't we offer those specific buildings to our young entrepreneurs and make sure that we support them? We maybe subsidize them with water, rent, and electricity. You see, how can we come up as government to make sure that your marketing in terms of your business is growing? Instead of giving people trainings, nowadays people are taking through incubation programs that are not working, and then you see that people are always sent on training. 100 people in one room and only one person who's the facilitator or the provider that is being given that specific money to do that training is the winner, and the rest of others, they are losers because they are actually wasting time out of their business to be in that specific training. What type of support are we giving to our people? In terms of marketing, we've got the streets. If you go through Tabong, if you go through the town, we've got all the streets that are actually sitting there with nothing. It's an open space for advertisements for black business. For our young people, what are we doing? For you to go there, you have to pay. You see, so those are the smallest things that if we are trying to do things differently, they will go a long way in terms of giving hope. You see, how many businesses adopt these young people in their programs for greater good? How many businesses adopt the entrepreneurs, upcoming entrepreneurs for greater good? To say, if you are SEBENZA, how many businesses have you adopted in terms of recycling that are actually you are going to empower them to be at the level where you are? And then the list is endless. But at least as SEBENZA Engineering, we've already started that specific journey. We are no longer seeing entrepreneurs as people that we can just invite and do exhibition. We make sure that when we go out to those people, we are going to actually get them on board and make sure that we actually give them the size of our pie. Make sure that we adopt them, they know how this business is run, and in terms of the corporate governance requirements, in terms of leadership, in terms of administration, in terms of the finances of the business, not taking people into training, but coaching them on the job, of course, and in their own companies. So if we can do that, this country will be different. We don't have any unemployed people. We don't have businesses that are suffering and closing. We've got the mindset of a government and a lack of leadership that has to put its hands on the pulse on what is happening on the ground. Because the millions are stuck, people are stuck with millions and millions of budgets. All they do is everything that they've done in the past 27 years that has not been working. Instead of redirecting those specific monies for people who are coming with ideas to say, how do we change the narrative? Because I believe, like any other person who has got hope, that it will take you to go through the people that are already in the entrepreneurial space to say, how can we make you better? We don't want to be fed. Entrepreneurs and young people out there, they don't want to be given money. They want opportunities. They want support. They want access to the market, and that market is already there, you see. So it is up to the government, it is up to the stakeholders to actually say, how do we deal with things differently? Yes.
Mr.